The issue today that we have been talking about and addressing here at Jane-Finch is about community safety. It's about violent crime. It is about the people who are sort of fighting against the tide here at the same time as trying to come up with solutions in the middle of a federal election campaign. And as you heard in the stories offered by Amber Giro and Brian Lilly, there has been precious little said on the campaign about that particular issue. And this is affecting people in this community. There are 13 communities that have been labeled as troubled neighborhoods in the city of Toronto, and for all intents and purposes it has not been on the radar. It was back on the 16th of September, and we thought we had our hands full already in the newsroom when we were dealing with a shooting at the Bendale High School. Shortly after that happened, we got the call to attend at a shooting up here at the Jane-Finch neighborhood, and it was at 4400 Jane Street, right across the street from the Driftwood Community Center, and a young man had been gunned down on a basketball court. We were later to find out there was 18-year-old William Junior Appiah, and he is the son of Nana Appiah and Monica Appiah, both of whom are here with us today. First, thanks for joining us, because I know I can't imagine what you have gone through in the last month. So as difficult as it is, thank you for stepping out and kind of being a public voice and a public face to this, because this is, it must be incredibly difficult to do, but it's so important that you do this, so thank you.
Thank you also.
Take me back to that day, because I just, as I showed up at the scene, all I could think of, being a dad of a young man, is I don't know how I would have managed to live through that day.
Okay, I live in Calgary, Alberta, and I got a phone call that my son, who attends school at Finch and Kill, got shot. So immediately, it's far from Toronto.
It's a long way away.
Long way, so
and all of a sudden it's a whole lot farther away when you hear that news.
Yeah. So I checked online and got a flight.
Yeah.
So I left in the midnight flight, and I arrived on the 17th, 6 a.m. So I went to identify my son at the police commerce office. It wasn't an easy thing.
No.
It was really sad.
Monica, what goes through your, I mean, at some point, I'm imagining that you denied it. You're thinking this couldn't have been my son.
No, I didn't accept it. When I heard I was driving, and my elder son called me and said, "Have you heard what happened?" And I said, "What happened?" He said, "I heard that Junior has been shot." And I said, "Don't tell me he's dead." He said, "He's dead." I said, "Don't say, I don't want to hear it's Junior. Don't say it's Junior." Then he said, "It's Junior." No. I was shaking inside me, and I didn't know what to do. So I said, he told me that, okay, stay calm, and I'll go home and I'll give you details on that. So I was able to drive home. And then when I got home, I said, okay, let me call. This is a shooting situation, so let me call the 911 for emergency call. And then I called. They said, oh, it's not a 911 situation, so I should call the local police. They gave me the phone number, and I contacted them. At that time, they had not identified this young man as my son. And so they were wondering how I got to know that it was my son among all children or young youth. And I said, some people who were around knew and saw the scene, so they told my son. So
and they knew it was your son who had been
yes,
shot.
Yes.
So there were obviously people around that day, and I know you have made a public pitch and an appeal for people to come forward. It must be incredibly frustrating for you to sit by and know that there were people who saw that and still remain silent.
Yeah, I don't understand the whole issue, because people were playing around. And when they heard a gun shot, they run away. At least one of them should come forward and say, look, this is what I saw. If you don't come forward, just call the Crime Stoppers and give a description.
Well, and if they don't come forward, you're in a situation where this is more than likely going to happen again before it doesn't ever happen again.
And that is why we are appealing to the public, to help us guide this before somebody is also killed.
Monica, when we talk about this as being one of those things, we can talk about it in big pictures. This is all about you, and you understand what this violence means firsthand. This hasn't been talked about on the campaign to any great degree. They want to put kids in jail for longer periods of time, or they want to name them once they are arrested. If you had one thing to say to all of the men and the women who want to be Prime Minister of this country to deal with this issue, what do they need to do?
They should come together and with one voice and talk about this issue, so they can bring this to an end, this crime.
Nana?
Yeah, what I want to say is I want to appeal to the government, and they have to rethink about the Young Offenders Act, because all these kids having guns, nobody knows where they get the gun from. So I appeal to the police and the government to find the source of the gun. If they find the source of where this gun came from, then they will find a big solution. In that Young Offenders Act, I believe if somebody is above 14 and he commits a crime, they have to try him as adult. Because what motivated you to go and kill? What came to your mind to hold the gun? And the moment you have that gun, you have extra power on it, and they don't think that he's a human being. So all my appeal to the politicians are, they have to rethink about the Young Offenders Act and give more powers to the police to find how the guns get into this guy's hand. Because we have border patrols all over the place, and still they have guns here. So I don't know where these kids get the gun from. If they can find that source, I believe it will be better. Because when we were growing, it was our fists we used to fight. You beat me, I shake you, next morning I respect you that you are over me. Not gun, not knife. So I'm appealing to the politicians who wants to be a leader tomorrow to try and help the police with the resources.
It's a pleasure meeting you.
Thank you very much.
And thank you for stepping up, and your courage is exemplary. We appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
And too much is said in this community that we focus on the guns, we focus on the crime, we don't focus on the stuff that are affecting you personally. So that you have stepped up in front of this and called for the witnesses is important. But your courage to do so, not just in this mall, but in the media.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
You're welcome.
They are Nana and Monica Appiah, and the parents of William Junior Appiah. He is the 18-year-old, and I'm sure there's a homicide number attached to his name in a file at police headquarters, but is among the latest to have been gunned down in this city and certainly in this community of Jane-Finch.